Okay, let's dive right in with something that might surprise you about financing grad school. Did you know that when you apply for financial aid as a graduate student, the government automatically sees you as independent?
Mm.
Like, even if you literally just finished your bachelor's degree, maybe still living at home, your parents' income, it just doesn't factor in.
That is probably the single biggest shift from undergrad funding.
Hmm.
And honestly, so many students either don't realize it or they don't grasp the implications. So yeah, this deep dive is all about those financial pathways for grad students.
Right.
We're going to be looking at, federal aid, the FSCA nuances,
Right.
but also digging into the really strategic stuff like assistantships and fellowships. We've pulled together quite a bit on this.
And we're definitely going to focus on the timing
Yeah.
because getting that right can save you, well, a lot of money and future debt, right? Our goal here for you listening is to give you a clear roadmap. We want to make sure you're not leaving, free money on the table. Or worse, missing some deadline that just slams a door shut. And to make it really practical, we'll use a specific example, something like the Master of Science in Information Systems, maybe looking at how a program like the one at Tarleton State University's Dr. Sampak College of Business might be funded. It helps illustrate these ideas.
Yeah, it's a layered system. You've got federal rules, state rules, the university's own pots of money, sometimes even help from employers. It all interacts. So we'll walk you through how to approach it step by step, starting right at the top with the federal government's role.
Okay, so that first point being automatically independent, why is that such a big deal? Like, what's the real advantage?
It's huge because it completely changes how need is calculated. For undergrads, the FAFSA looks at the EFC, the estimated family contribution.
Right, parents' income is key there.
Exactly. But as a grad student, poof, that EFC calculation is based only on your income, yours, and, well, your spouse's if you're married.
So if your parents made too much for you to get need-based aid as an undergrad, that might totally change now.
Precisely. Suddenly you might qualify for certain grants or, subsidized campus aid just because your income as a student is low, even if your parents' situation hasn't changed at all.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just simpler paperwork. It could actually mean more aid.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
It removes that big parental income hurdle that blocks a lot of traditional age students from certain types of aid. No need for their tax returns, their financial info. It speeds things up and opens doors.
And you mentioned the FFSA. It sounds like submitting it is non-negotiable, right? Even if someone thinks, oh, I'll only get loans anyway.
Absolutely critical. You have to submit the FAFS. Think of it as the master key. Universities use that ESSA data for everything.
Everything, even for scholarships that aren't based on need.
Yep. Even for merit scholarships. Imagine a committee looking at two identical MSIS candidates. Both great GPAs, great experience. One filed the FAFS, one didn't. The one with the FAFSA gives the school the complete picture they need for certain campus-based aid decisions. It just makes that student a safer bet for certain funding allocations.
So skipping the AFA is basically opting out of potentially a whole chunk of funding options.
Yeah, it's step one, mandatory. Every single year you want aid.
Okay, so FS submitted, gateway opened. For most grad students, the next step involves federal loans. Let's break down the main types: direct unsubsidized and the Grad PLUS loan.
Right. These are the workhorses of grad student funding.
Yeah.
Strategically, you always want to start with the federal direct unsubsidized loan. Max this one out first.
And there's a limit on that one, right?
There is. For most grad programs, based on recent figures anyway, the annual limit is usually around $20,500.
But you mentioned some fields get more, like medicine.
Yeah, exactly. For really high cost or longer programs like medicine, the limit can jump way up, maybe $40,500 a year.
Yeah.
Public health is often higher too, maybe $33,000. It reflects the tuition differences.
Okay. And there's a lifetime limit too.
An aggregate limit. For most people, it's $138,500. That includes anything you borrowed as an undergrad. Again, higher for those medical fields, up around $224,000.
Let's talk about the unsubsidized part. That's where the interest comes in, right?
Yes. Crucial difference from undergrad subsidized loans. With the graduate unsubsidized loan, interest starts piling up the minute the money goes out.
So the clock's ticking immediately.
Immediately. Now, the good news is you don't have to start paying it back until 6 months after you drop below half-time enrollment. That deferment is helpful.
Yet the interest is still growing that whole time.
It's still growing, still compounding. That's key.
And the cost.
Yeah.
Looking at those 2022-23 numbers, It was like 6.54% interest plus a fee.
Right, a fixed 6.54%. And yeah, an origination fee was around 1.057% back then.
Explain that fee again. It's not just interest.
No, it's like a processing fee the government takes right off the top. So if you borrow $10,000, they take that 1.057%, which is about 105. You only get $9,895 sent to your school account.
But you owe the full $10,000.
You owe the full $10,000 plus interest on the full $10,000. It's debt on money you never actually touched, something to be aware of.
Okay, so what if that $20,500 isn't enough? If the cost of attendance for the MSIS program is higher, then you look at the federal graduate PLUS loan.
That's the next step, yeah. The PLUS loan is designed to cover the gap up to the total cost of attendance minus any other aid you received.
But this one's different. It needs a credit check.
It does. Unlike the unsubsidized loan, which pretty much everyone qualifies for if they file the FAFSA, the PLUS loan looks at your credit history.
And they're looking for adverse credit history. What does that actually mean? Is it just like a low score?
Not necessarily just a low score. It's more specific. Flags for bigger issues. Things like being 90 days or more late on any significant debt right now. Or having had serious events in the last 5 years, like a bankruptcy, foreclosure, wage garnishment, that kind of thing.
Okay, so more serious financial trouble.
Right. Recent, significant distress.
What if you do have something like that on your record and get denied? Is that it for the PLUS loan?
Not always. There are a couple of options. One, you can get an endorser. Think of it like a co-signer, someone with a clean credit history who agrees to repay if you don't.
Oh.
Or two, you might be able to document extenuating circumstances for why you had that adverse history. If the Department of Education accepts that, you then have to complete something called PLUS credit counseling. It's an extra step.
So there's a bit of a safety net, unlike maybe some private loans.
Exactly. It offers a path forward.
But financially, the PLUS loan is definitely the more expensive choice.
Oh, absolutely. Using those same 2022, 23 figures, the interest rate was higher, like 7.54%. And the origination fee, way bigger, over 4.2%.
4%. So on that $10,000 loan, you're losing over $420 up front.
Yeah, compared to about $105 for the unsubsidized, it really adds up. That's why you always max out the unsubsidized loan first before even thinking about PLUS.
Got it. Okay, let's talk logistics. AFES is done. You know which loans you need. What paperwork comes next?
You'll need your FSA ID, that's your electronic signature. Then you have to complete the Master Promissory Note, the MPN.
The MPN, that's the actual loan agreement?
That's the legally binding promise to repay.
Yeah.
And for any first-time borrower of either unsubsidized or PLUS loans, there's mandatory entrance counseling.
Okay. Entrance counseling. Is that the same as the PLUS credit counseling you mentioned?
No, good question. They're separate. Entrance counseling standard. Everyone does it the first time they borrow direct loans. It's online, explains your rights, responsibilities, repayment options.
Okay.
The PLS credit counseling is only if you were denied the PLS loan because of adverse credit, but then got approved, either with an endorser or by appealing. So some people might have to do both, but most will just do the standard entrance counseling.
Right, paperwork done. How does the money actually get to you or to the school?
The school has to let you know the loan is coming.
Mm-hmm.
For loans based on an MPN you already signed, they might use what's called passive confirmation, meaning the money just shows up unless you tell them not to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the direct PLES loan, specifically, schools must use active confirmation.
Meaning you have to explicitly say, yes, I want this loan.
Exactly. You have to actively confirm you want it.
Why the extra step for a PLS?
Well, because it's the more expensive loan, the one with the credit check. The government wants to be absolutely sure you understand and accept that specific debt burden before the funds go out.
Makes sense. And then the school gets the money.
Yep. The school, like Tarleton, would typically apply it to your student account first, cover tuition, fees, etc. If there's anything left over, say you borrowed extra for living expenses, that remaining balance usually gets refunded directly to you.
Okay, so federal aid is mostly loans. But the really attractive funding, the stuff that doesn't usually need repaying, comes from the institutions themselves, right? Like assistantships and fellowships.
Absolutely. This is where strategic planning really pays off. But you're right, people mix these terms up constantly.
So let's clarify, what's the core difference?
The simplest way I put it is a fellowship is a grant, and assistantship is a job.
Okay, grant versus job. Let's start with the grant side, the fellowship. What does that look like for a student?
A fellowship is pure merit funding. It could be from the university itself or an external source like, the National Science Foundation or a professional organization like AACSB. The key is you are not an employee.
Not an employee, so no work required.
Generally, no work requirement. The money is given to support your academic work, your research, your studies, maybe professional development, like attending conferences. It's focused entirely on you and your project or program.
And the funding could cover tuition, living expenses.
It could cover tuition, yeah, or research costs. Sometimes it's just a straight stipend for you to live on. The goal is to free up your time so you can focus 100% on your MSIS coursework or your thesis. It buys you academic freedom.
Sounds ideal. Okay, now compare that to the assistantship, the job model.
Right. An assistantship is an employment position. The university department hires you. You could be a teaching assistant, PA, a research assistant, or maybe a graduate assistant, GA, doing more administrative tasks.
So you have actual duties.
You have specific tasks and responsibilities: grading papers, prepping lab materials, running discussion sections if you're a TA, assisting a professor with their research, collecting data, running analyses if you're an RA, maybe helping manage an office or program if you're a GA.
And you get paid like an employee.
Exactly. You get regular paychecks, and that income is taxable, just like any job.
But the real prize often isn't just the paycheck, is it?
Not at all. The huge strategic value, especially for certain students, is the tuition waiver, or a significant tuition discount that often comes with the assistantship. That waiver plus the stipend, that combo can completely cover the cost of the degree.
So it's pay plus potentially free tuition.
Right, but the trade-off is the work itself might be driven by what the department needs, not just your specific research interest, especially for TAs or GAs.
Let's dig into those differences a bit more. How the money works, who's eligible.
Okay, so funding use. Fellowship money might be restricted, like it has to go towards tuition or specific research supplies. An assistantship stipend, since it's just a paycheck, is yours to spend however you need rent, groceries, whatever.
And eligibility. Can undergrads get these?
Fellowships are almost exclusively for graduate students or postgrads. Assistantships, though, particularly TA roles, might sometimes be open to very advanced undergrads. But RA and GA positions are typically grad students only.
The biggest sticking point seems to be the time commitment for assistantships, that work requirement.
Yeah, but that's the main trade-off. You're usually looking at 10, maybe 20 hours of work per week. That's a serious chunk of time when you're juggling demanding grad courses.
And the type of work matters.
Hugely. Being a TA can feel quite administrative sometimes, but lots of grading, emails, maybe less intellectually stimulating than your own coursework. Being an RA, though, if you can land an RA position that directly supports your own thesis or capstone project, that's ideal.
Because you're basically getting paid to do your own research.
Exactly. It aligns perfectly.
Right.
A fellowship, of course, has zero work requirement, just pure study time.
Which leads to the million-dollar question. Can you get both? Can you stack a fellowship and an assistantship? The double dip?
Ah, the double dip.
Yeah.
It really depends on the school's policies. Some universities are very strict. They have rules against combining major awards to spread the funding around.
But others allow it.
Many do, yes. Especially maybe in the first year before, say, teaching requirements kick in.
So imagine getting, I don't know, a $15,000 external fellowship and landing a GA position with a $15,000 stipend plus that tuition waiver.
That's a game changer. You could have tax-free fellowship money plus taxable stipend income plus your tuition covered. Your financial stress level just plummets.
But there's a catch, maybe, from the department's perspective.
There can be. Departments manage their funding strategically. If you come in having already won a big external fellowship that covers your tuition and living costs.
They might not offer you an assistantship.
Exactly. They might think, okay, this student is covered. Let's give that assistantship slot, the job, the stipend, the waiver, to another really strong applicant who doesn't have external funding. It's about optimizing resources for the whole incoming class.
Interesting. So winning a big fellowship might actually help someone else in your cohort get funded, too.
It can, yeah. Your individual success can free up institutional resources for others. It's a different dynamic in grad school.
Okay, let's make this really concrete. Let's apply these ideas to funding a specific degree, say the Master of Science in Information Systems. We can use the estimated costs from a program like the online one at Tarleton State's Dr. Sam Pack College of Business as a model.
Great idea. You always start with the cost of attendance. And looking at those numbers, particularly the difference between in-state and out-of-state, is really eye-opening.
Let's put them up. For 2025-2026, taking like 6 credit hours per semester, a Texas resident is looking at roughly $5,700 total estimated cost per semester. Tuition and fees are about $5,100 of that.
Okay. Now, the non-resident.
Big jump. Total estimated cost for the non-resident is almost $13,500 per semester,
Yeah.
and the tuition fees part alone is nearly $12,900.
Wow. Okay, do the math there. That's, what, like a $7,800 difference every semester just in tuition and fees?
Yeah, pretty much. Over a 2-year program, that adds up incredibly fast, like over $30,000 more for the non-resident.
So that immediately tells you the #1 strategic priority for any non-resident student looking at this MSIS program or similar public university programs.
Get in-state tuition.
Get in-state tuition, whatever it takes. And the most direct path to that,
The graduate assistantship.
the graduate assistantship. This isn't just about the stipend anymore. For a non-resident, holding that GA position is the golden ticket because it typically grants you eligibility to pay the in-state tuition and fees.
So forget the stipend for a second. Just getting the GA job instantly saves that student nearly $7,800 per semester off their tuition bill.
Exactly. It fundamentally changes the affordability equation. That $12,900 tuition drops down to the $5,100 level. Plus, you get the stipend on top of that, which, might be $20,000, $25,000 a year, depending on the role. It's massive.
That makes the GA position almost invaluable for non-residents. What are the typical requirements to get one?
Usually pretty standard stuff. You need to be fully admitted to the graduate program, maintain a good GPA, often 3.0 or higher, and be enrolled for a minimum number of credits each semester, maybe 6 hours.
And how do you apply? Is it through the main financial aid office?
Usually not. This is key. GA applications are typically handled at the departmental level. So for the MSIS program, you'd need to proactively reach out to the department within the Dr. Sampak College of Business. Talk to the program coordinator, the department head. Don't wait for them to find you. Apply early.
Okay, super important tip. Now, what about students who are already working? A lot of people pursuing an MSIS may be mid-career. Can they leverage their jobs?
Definitely. Employer assistance is common. There are 2 main ways it works. The easiest is third-party sponsor billing.
How does that work?
If your company, say a big tech firm, has formally agreed to pay your tuition, they might set up direct billing with the university. Tarleton, for instance, would just send the invoice straight to your employer. You might just need to provide a voucher or authorization form. The money never even passes through your hands.
Nice. What's the other way?
The more common way is corporate reimbursement. Here, you pay the tuition bill up front. Then, after you successfully complete the courses, usually meaning you get a certain grade, like a B or better, you submit your grades and receipts to your employer, and they pay you back.
Okay, so you need the cash flow up front for that one.
You do. And companies often cap this benefit. Maybe they'll only reimburse up to $5,250 a year or some other limit.
Yeah.
But it's still a huge help.
No, let's flip it. What if you work for the university itself? Like you're an employee at Tarleton State and want to get your master's there.
Institutional employee benefits. These can be really good. At Tarleton, for example, they have a family education benefit. Employees, spouses, dependents might get a 50% tuition discount after working there for a bit.
50% is great, but is there something even better?
There is. For the employee themselves, pursuing their first master's degree, there's the Master's Degree Educational Assistance Program,
And that offers.
a 100% waiver of eligible tuition and mandatory fees.
Wow, free master's degree.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an investment the university makes in its own staff. There are requirements. Of course, you usually need to have worked there for a year, have good performance reviews, and show how the MSIS degree fits into your career path at the university.
Are there any catches, like limitations or tax implications?
Good questions. Yes, usually there are limits. Maybe you can only take 6 credit hours per semester under the waiver. And taxes, this is crucial. The IRS generally considers employer-paid tuition benefits over $5,250 per year to be taxable income.
So even though you didn't get cash, the value of that waived tuition above $5,250 might show up on your tax forms.
Exactly. You could end up owing income tax on that benefit amount. You need to factor that in. It's still an amazing deal, but not completely free after taxes, potentially.
Okay, one last funding source before we move on. Scholarships specifically for IS students, beyond just filing the FSA.
Right. While AFSA is the gateway, most graduate scholarships are merit-based and often department-specific. So, an MSIS student at Tarleton should look for things like the Faculty Endowed Scholarship for Business Graduate Students, or even more targeted ones like the Paul Pear Scholarship if it fits their profile that one's specifically for CIS majors and prioritizes merit. You have to come within the college.
And outside the university, any good places to look?
Professional organizations are key.
Mm-hmm.
ISACA, the Information Systems Audit and Control Association, their foundation often has relevant scholarships, like their Digital Trust Scholarship.
Okay.
But you have to read the fine print very carefully. Some scholarships from organizations like ISACA, especially chapter-level ones, might be strictly for bachelor's degree students. Applying if you're not eligible is just wasted effort. Do your homework on eligibility first.
All right, we've covered the money sources. Now for the tricky part, navigating the rules, the deadlines, the potential pitfalls. You said missing deadlines is the easiest way to lose out on free money.
Absolutely. Financial aid, especially the grant and institutional kind, is often a race. Some funds are first come, first served. The money is there until it runs out. Waiting is risky.
So let's get these dates straight. What's the absolute earliest, most important deadline we need to know?
Okay, the FAFSA's application itself opens in December now, but often the university's own deadline for its general scholarships is even earlier, sometimes December 1st. That's for the really competitive internal merit money. Miss that, and that pool might be gone.
December 1st. Wow, that's early. What's next?
Then you usually have the priority deadline for the FAFSA itself, often around March 15th. This is important for state grants, like the Texas grant if you're in Texas, and also for federal campus-based aid like work-study or Perkins loans, though those are less common now.
So March 15th is still important, but December 1st is maybe even more critical for some funds.
For those institutional scholarships, potentially yes. The final deadline to get all your FAFSA documents in just to make sure your federal loans process for the fall semester might be something like June 1st. But relying on that means you've already missed the boat on priority funding.
The strategy is clear. Act in December or as soon as possible. Don't wait until spring.
Exactly.
Okay, so you get the aid. You're enrolled, but you have to keep meeting certain standards, right? This satisfactory academic progress, or SAP.
Right. SAP isn't just about getting the aid initially, it's about keeping it. Fail to meet SAP and your federal aid, those unsubsidized and PLUS loans can be shut off.
And it's not just about grades, is it?
No, SAP usually has 3 parts. Let's break them down.
Okay, part 1.
Qualitative component. This is about grades. You have to maintain a minimum cumulative GPA. For grad school, it's often a 3.0 overall, but federal rules might just require hitting a 2.0 by the halfway point of your program. You need to check your school's specific policy.
Okay, GPA, part 2.
Incremental quantitative component, sometimes called PACE. Basically, you have to successfully complete a certain percentage of the credits you attempt each semester or year. You can't just enroll in 9 credits, then withdraw from 6 of them and expect to keep getting 8. You have to show you're making progress towards the degree. Passing more than 0 hours in a term you attempt hours is a bare minimum.
Makes sense. You have to actually move forward. And part 3.
Overall, quantitative component, or maximum time frame, this is the big one. You can't take forever to finish. Federal aid is generally limited to 150% of the published length of your program.
So if the MSIS program is, say, 36 credit hours,
then you can't attempt more than 54 credit hours, 36 by 1.5, and still receive federal aid for that program. That includes credits you transferred in, credits you withdrew from after the census date, credits you failed. It all counts towards that 150% limit.
Wow. So changing majors a lot or retaking classes could actually cause you to hit that limit and lose aid.
Absolutely. It happens.
What if you slip up on one of these GPA drops or you don't complete enough credits one semester?
Usually, the first time you fail SAP, you get placed on warning. You can still receive federal aid for 1 more semester.
A chance to fix it.
Right. But if you don't meet SAP standards by the end of that warning semester, then you go into SAP suspension. No more federal aid. Period.
Can you appeal a suspension?
You can, but it's not easy. You typically need to document serious, extenuating circumstances beyond your control that affected your performance. Things like a major illness or injury, death of a close relative.
So I found grad school harder than I expected, probably won't cut it.
Generally, no. It needs to be something significant and documentable that prevented you from succeeding academically.
Okay, important to stay on top of that. Let's quickly circle back to loans and credit. We mentioned the PLUS loan needs a credit check. What about private loans?
Private loans from banks or credit unions. They almost always require a credit check, and often a more stringent one than the federal PLUS loan. They'll likely look at your credit score, your debt-to-income ratio, your overall creditworthiness, and they might require a co-signer if your own credit isn't strong enough.
So checking your credit report before applying seems like a smart move.
Definitely. Get your free annual credit reports, check for errors, see where you stand, especially before applying for PLUS or private options.
And once you have the loans, particularly the unsubsidized, or PLUS, where interest starts right away, you need a repayment mindset from day one. You mentioned capitalization.
Yes, capitalization is a debt trap if you're not careful. Remember, interest accrues on those loans while you're in school.
Mm.
If you don't pay that interest as it accrues,
It gets added to the principal.
exactly. When you start repayment, that unpaid interest gets tacked onto the original amount you borrowed. So now you're paying interest on the interest.
Ouch. So if you borrowed 20 LK, maybe $2 in interest accrued, you start repaying 22K.
Precisely. And that extra $2K starts generating its own interest immediately. It makes the loan significantly more expensive over time.
So the best strategy, if you can possibly afford it, is to try and pay at least the accruing interest while you're still in school.
It's a really powerful strategy to minimize total debt. Even small interest payments during school prevent that capitalization snowball effect later on. Use the loan calculators on studentaid.gov to see the impact.
Good advice. Okay, finally, let's talk about winning those competitive scholarships we mentioned earlier. FAFSA gets you in the door, but the application itself, especially the personal statement, seems crucial.
It is the place to differentiate yourself,
Yeah.
especially for graduate awards where everyone applying probably has a decent GPA. The essay is where you become more than just numbers on a page.
What makes a strong personal statement for something like an MSIS scholarship?
Clarity, focus, and passion. You need to clearly articulate your goals. Why this specific degree? What do you plan to do with it? Connect it to your past experiences and future ambitions in the information systems field.
Be specific.
Very specific. Don't just say, I want to help companies. Say, I aim to specialize in cybersecurity risk assessment for financial institutions, or whatever your focus is. Use strong, confident language. Show, don't just tell. Use examples of your achievements or how you've overcome challenges.
What about mentioning challenges like financial hardship?
You absolutely can, but do it strategically. Frame it as demonstrating resilience, determination, and why this scholarship support is critical for you to achieve those specific goals you laid out. It shouldn't be the only focus, but part of your overall story of drive.
And what should people avoid? Common mistakes.
Cliches. Generic statements, being too wordy or rambling. Definitely avoid criticizing others or sounding arrogant. And please proofread. Typos and grammatical errors just scream carelessness. It undermines everything else you've written. Get someone else to read it too.
Solid advice. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding that crucial independent status on the FS to the power of assistantships for cutting costs, especially for non-residents, and the absolute vital importance of hitting those early deadlines.
Yeah, the big takeaway really is that funding a graduate degree, especially a career-focused one like an MS in information systems, isn't about luck. It's about being proactive and strategic. It's a layered approach, FAFSA first and early. Understand the work for aid deal with assistantships versus the freedom of fellowships, then aggressively hunt down those institutional, departmental, and maybe employer funds specific to your field. You have to take control of the process.
It really makes you think. So here's something to chew on as you plan your path, maybe towards that MSIS degree. We talk about how a graduate assistantship gives you a stipend, yes, but for non-residents, it also unlocks that much cheaper in-state tuition, potentially saving tens of thousands in debt. So is the work you do for that GA position actually the single best professional and financial investment you can make at that stage? You're minimizing debt, gaining relevant experience, and getting paid. When does that job become the most valuable form of financial aid you can possibly get?
That's a really interesting way to frame the value proposition.
Something to consider. Thanks for breaking all this down today.
My pleasure. It's complex, but manageable with the right strategy.